Hello guys, welcome back. Don't really know where we're going with this video, but I need to put something out there just to explain to all you guys what it is I'm doing. Otherwise I'm going to get to a point where this is all glued together and you're going to think, that looks nothing like mine. So I just want to sort of go back to the beginning where I was, what I've done, and also cover some discoveries I've made with the kit and factual stuff. And what's there, what's missing, what's incorrect, what's not there, and just go from there. So basically, let's start with this cockpit floor. You can see that I've done a lot of modifications to it. I think I also cover, I've removed this part here, as you know. This part here goes on the back, and that's all pretty good. I think you're not really going to see any of it anyway, so that's all good. I think you've seen this Bombay floor where I drilled all these holes into it and thinned it out. Oh, I should start by saying as well that this is being converted to a dam buster, so type 464. So these are the 4 holes where the Iconic Air kit fit parts. There's a parts fit. Sorry, there's a hydraulic pump that goes here that drives the wheel that spins the bomb, and then there's all sorts of bracketry. This conduit here that runs along the length, I asked the question in a video, and someone said to me they think that could be the additional power cables for the later electric upper turret, and I think they could be right, because where they stop is right below where the turret goes. So I may be getting rid of those, because I found in the Mark Postlethwaite book, Petra Forquais, Mark Postlethwaite, but Dam Buster Lancaster, it's not there. So I've got a feeling that's got to go, but I haven't cut it out yet. And also all the beams that go across for the upkeep bomb rack, the calipers, they all cut through it. So why would you have a conduit there and cut through it? I don't know. There's also what you need to bear in mind with the 464. They were built as a special Lancaster for the purpose of dropping the upkeep bomb, but a few of the parts on there were added in the field at Scampton, such as the lights in the bottom, in the belly of the aircraft, the ones they used to get their correct altitude. So anyway, more and more I find out about it, the more and more I get interested in it. It's a very interesting subject. So I've corrected the floor here. You can see I've removed the box that HK mold on there. It's basically too long and too tall, so that's gone. So let's get rid of that. And then I've panelled the floor out with plastic card. I've cut away this corner here of the floor because it actually is fictitious, and the front of this is extended and radiused, as you can see. Inside there are all chain wheels and cogs and gears and everything, because basically all the throttle controls and everything on the instrument panel, they were all dealt with by chains. So basically you had a chain coming from the instrument panel down the pillar, which is here, and then they went all the way back and then up and across the spars and out to the engines from there. So it was all a combination of chains and chain wheels, just like on a push bike. So inside there was all the chain wheels, and there's loads in there. You'll see I've filled in all these holes here for the bulkhead behind the seat, and then you've got these 2 boxes here, which I believe are batteries. They're cut away as well. We've got the 2 holes, that's where the uprights go. These 2 uprights go next to the table. They're filled in. I'll tell you about that in a minute. I've cut away the seat that was molded in, basically because it was just a big square lump, and I want to make it look a bit more accurate, because when you look down through the canopy, I think you'll be able to see this in there, and also the glazing in the side is pretty large as well. So that's that, basically all explained. This plastic panel here is just an infield piece, and you can see that all this plastic on the back is carved away. That's to give you the appearance of thin sheet metal from when you look at it from this side. So that's all just done with ball cutters, but I explain that in another video. So I cut away this lump here, that square box, and then I've made this. This is basically 100%, pretty much 100% scratch built. I've used the standard wheel, the trim wheel here, although some people do say that it's actually too large. I think they're probably right. I did scratch build one and I thought it was too small. This little lever at the front, the brown part, that's the emergency release for the upkeep bomb. In case the electronics failed, you could pull that and it would just mechanically drop it. You can see I've got the trim wheel there on the front, and I've turned the flap control, which is the little sort of handle in front of that trim wheel. I've turned that 90 degrees. In the kit it actually faces in the wrong orientation. Completely rebuilt and modified the seat. The seat in the kit is way off, so yeah, rebuilt the rear end as well. The back of it, that was just simply molded. But I mean, you know, I don't think HK were ever going to go to the trouble of doing all this in here. That would be very finite detail. Probably not even Tamiya would have done that. You can also see here I've added all the hydraulic pipe work, and I've just put some fictitious detail inside. This this here is usually painted red. Let's get my pointy stick. This part here I'm referring to. This lever here, they pull that up, that's the landing gear, and I've basically added the hydraulic pipes there, and they just terminate here, and you'll see in a minute where they come out. You've got some hydraulic pipes running across the back here. This would have been the the valve, if you like, for the bomb bay doors. I couldn't think what I was saying then. For the bomb bay doors, obviously the 464 had no bomb bay doors, but it did use the hydraulic system apparently for driving the pump for spinning the upkeep bomb. So I've left that in, or not left it in, I've added that, as I think it would still be there. But you've got a main feed in, and then the pipes take off to do the different bits and pieces. These boxes on the side, one of them apparently is called a computer holder, and the other one is for maps and that. This here I thought was a map box, but it's not. It's actually a box that covers some cables and chains that go from this trim mechanism. There's a trim wheel missing in the kit there. You do get it in the Edard set. You also get this one in the Edard set, but they're tiny. If you look back at my Edard review, they're way undersized. I had to make this here. This is a stop to stop the control lever going forward too far, and then this one is, or control column should I say, and then the rear one is actually in the kit, but it's in the wrong position, so I've actually moved that one back. Armrest detail I've added here is you've got the pull cable here, which was the quick release for the harness, which you can see is there, and the harness straps actually wrap around that brass rod there, which is just placed at the moment until I get the harnesses. I intend to use HGW harnesses in this, and I believe I've got a set on the way as soon as they become available. This rear end here, I found a picture online of a Lanc being restored, and that's what the back panel looks like. So I've just cut a plate that looks like that. You're not going to see much of that from the top anyway, which is something you don't often hear me say, but I'm not going to spend time making bits and pieces that go in there that aren't really going to get seen at all. You know, I could spend forever just on this. There is actually a lever on the side of the seat that cranks the seat up and down with a ratchet mechanism on it, and that comes in the Edard set, so that's one good thing. I should use that part there. You've got the rudder stops on the front here. In the kit it's like a huge blob. I believe I showed you that in another video. I've remade those, so you've got like the two little wheels. If you search Google, you know, Lancaster cockpit, Lancaster rudder pedals, Lancaster this, Lancaster that, you always need to put Lancaster bomber, otherwise, like I put one in yesterday, Lancaster navigator's table. I've got loads of coffee table shops in Lancaster, so you know, I've added the rivets. So yeah, you can see that there. So that's the cockpit floor as per the original, to replace what came in the kit, which is here. Okay, so you can see it's much shorter, it's lower, and the seat is also lower as well. The seat in the kit is way too high, and as a result the armoured plate that goes over the back of the seat is way too small, otherwise it would have hit the canopy. So worth bearing in mind if you want to build this kit and just not go to too much fuss. Cut a section out of this cut the top off that and cut a section out of it and lower it down to get the seat so that you've got the sort of just a couple of mil of the backrest sticking up above the sill on the side of the cockpit. So yeah, it wants to be going in. If I hold this in place, you can see that's about correct there. So you just want a couple of mil sticking up. In the actual kit, it's way up here. It's way too high. Right, so you can see here I've added these because I've cut away that block which goes in the side there. I've added in the internal structure to the fuselage. I've added in these hydraulic pipes, and I showed you there where those two pipes there just end. Well, they join those two there, and then you can see there's two holes in the back, and they got pipes that go into these little connectors here which I've put on that aren't glued in yet, so I can just make those and fit them once it's all in. Okay, radio gear. I haven't looked online. I'm sure there's lots of other people that have talked about this. There's probably some people that have got it spot on. There's probably some people that have got it wrong. I may have my information slightly wrong. I may have some cross wires, but I've just basically gone online and looked at sort of radio restoration sites and stuff, identified what everything was called and how it was used and that, and basically gone from there. Now, if you look at pretty much any Lancaster, they'll have a box up behind the seat, and I'll show you in the instructions. I think this is going to be the best way to do it. There's a box that goes up behind the pilot seat, and you can see here it's being added, and it basically sits like this behind the pilot seat facing the navigator who sits here. Now these two boxes here, they're built in assembly stage 5, so you can see here we've got these X22, X21, these two pieces of photo etch that go on the back. Why they're photo etch I do not know. And then they've got this bracket here, X20, that holds them in. They are actually H2S associated parts. I'm going to call them receivers, whatever, but I don't know exactly what they do, but they are H2S parts. So that's those parts there. Let's just put these instructions down. So you've got those three parts there that are actually not applicable to a downbuster Lanc because it didn't have HS2 or H2S, sorry. HS2 is a train line. So then in that position then, what they would have done on the earlier Lancs, you've got this part here going on, X25, which is your ARI 5033 receiver, I think, which is here. So that part would go up against that radio bulkhead there. But before they actually did this, before the H2S came along, they actually put that in place up behind the pilot seat here. So if you look at images, you'll find that is actually mounted on this front pillar and the rear pillar behind the pilot seat. So it would sort of be situated like this, like that, as you look at it in the aircraft behind the seat. Now, when I started looking at this, I realised that everything looked a bit too far away. And what I noticed is I think where HK have gone wrong, they've got this massive piece in the floor, and then what they've done, they've found a drawing or a photograph or something, and they've put this front bulkhead here at a set distance behind it. But because that floor is too long, they've moved that too far back. So I've moved this, I've also thinned it right down. It's very, very thick in the kit. I've thinned it right out with some sanding sticks. And then I've moved that forward, so that now sits there. Now this pillar here in the kit goes up to the inside of the fuselage here. Well, that's fictitious. It's not correct as far as I know, at least not for an early Lancaster. So that needs to come off. I haven't cut it off yet because these pillars are what are going to support this radio. Okay, so that's going to go like that. So I need to get a better camera angle for you guys, don't I? So that's going to actually go like that on there. Now basically because that's moved forward and this is actually a fixed position because of the wing spar. What HK have done is made the table shorter, so I've had to extend the table, and all I've done is cut the table in half. I decided to cut it just behind the part where the where is it? This is the radio bulkhead. I've glued the radios on. I've also filled that slot where the shelf goes for the radio, because now that radio is now moved forward, and I filled in a molded in hole there. So that's going to go in like that, and you can see what I've done. I've cut it, that side of it, so that one of the seams at least is underneath this bulkhead. And then what I've done, I've put some plastic card in there. I've put a piece of plastic card across the bottom to support it, laid a piece across the top, let it go off, sanded it, put some Mr. Surfacer on it, and that's that. I've also removed, there's an angled shelf piece here. I can show you again in the instructions. There's an angled shelf piece there that this radio here, X24, goes on. Now, I believe this is called the fish pond, or the fish pond, and that was also part of the H2S system, and it was like, it gave warning of enemy aircraft from below. But it was part of the H2S system, so I've removed that because I don't believe that would have been on this aircraft. I've got no proof. If you know different, then you tell me, but I don't believe there should be a radio here that sits like that, angled up, because that would have been part of the fish pool, or the fish pond radio, the fish pond radio, which was part of the H2S. The box on the top, I believe I need to cut off and fix onto that bulkhead. We'll see. So yeah, that's that out of the way. So I've extended the table, as you see, and I haven't extended it quite as much as I have the actual, how much I've moved that forward, because it butted up too tight against this in the actual kit, and there should be a gap in there. The other thing is, there's another radio part that goes in here, which is this part here, which is, I believe, where is it? X18, shown there on the instructions, not there on a Dambuster Lanc. So so that one can go as well, and that hole needs to be filled in. The armrest is there, but that shouldn't be there. So yeah, you can see I already wood grained the table here. I need to wood grain the table again, and then what I'll do is paint it green and then scrub the green off to show some wood grain showing through. But then, being a Dambuster Lanc, it wouldn't have had a lot of use anyway, because they were delivered sort of pretty soon before they were actually used. So they weren't worn out aircraft. They were like pretty much like new when they went on their raids. So that's that there. Then we've got this little array of, this is one piece assembly, and this is all the radio controls and power supplies and stuff that goes underneath the table down here. Well, they also move forward, and if you notice this hole here that I've actually filled with plastic card, that's where these two boxes used to be, but I believe they've got as batteries. Now obviously they wouldn't have been there because that's where the wireless operator's feet had to be. So now that everything's moved forward, look, it enables me to move them forward. So now the wireless operator has somewhere to put his feet. And also these two boxes here, I haven't researched the rest, but these two here, they should be on a shelf. This one should be above this one, so it's going to come forward even more. These here I'm not sure about. I think these might be power supplies. I'm not sure what that is. I've yet to do some investigation, but basically, yeah, they need to be cut off. Little unit needs to be made up, and then that one will go above that one, the long one above the shorter one. If you look on Google at your Lancaster bomber radios, you'll find there's a website that's got all that on there. And then basically on the radio, the panel here, this is the bulkhead for the radios. That radio there, they can stay. These are actually molded onto the bulkhead. They can stay. That slot, I don't know what it's for. There's no part that goes in there. It would have been covered up by the radio, the fish pool radio that sat up in front of it, like that. So I'm guessing that there was something going to go there, and then HK changed their mind. I don't know. But I'll have a dig through the instructions, see if there is anything that does go in there. If not, fill the hole in. But I've got a feeling, like I say, I've got a feeling that box that's on the top of that radio, I've got a feeling that needs to come off and go on the top of there. This part here is correct. This part goes in the roof, and that actually does the direction finding loop, the DF loop, above the cockpit, so, or above the navigator. So that part's correct, so that can stay. On the front of this bulkhead we've got a parachute box, a fire extinguisher, and a box for the sextant or something, sextant carrier I think that is, and they all look correct, although I'm not so sure about this. I found some references that said that there were actually lamps mounted on the front of here, so I don't know, but I'll probably just put it in anyway, because you know, you can only go so far with keep changing everything. You know, I've been on this kit weeks and I've got hardly anywhere, as you can see. Moving on to the last thing I will say, this panel here, this is the navigator's radio panel, or navigator's control panel. That all looks pretty fictitious to me. You do get, in the Edard set, you get a replacement part 13 here that goes over that, and you also get it in the quick preview what I'm working on here. This is the beautiful Airscale cockpit set or instrument panel set for the Lancaster, and you can see here we've got the engineer's panel. This is the fuse box, and this is, well, the fuse panel, and this is the navigator's control panel. So basically that is, sorry, that is basically what that should be up there. Sorry guys, I had to stop there because the dog had a barking fit. So yeah, what I was saying is you could use the Airscale, or you could use the Edard set, although to me there's absolutely no comparison in the two whatsoever. So yeah, so that's that side dealt with. This side here we've got the fuse panel. In the kit, I'm after some advice here guys. In the kit they've got the engineer's seat depicted as this squab here on a pivot, and then they've got this backrest piece which goes on like this and just sits on the side like that. If it would stay there, sort of pretty much like that. It goes up on the top. No ejector pin mark on the face you see, not on the face you don't, thank you. But this I think is not correct. If you look at pictures of Just Jane looks like this, but I can't find any wartime pictures with the seat like that. It looks like the seat from the wartime pictures is on a frame, which so the seat pivoted down, and then there was a strap across the back that the pilot used, or the engineer used as a backrest. So it looks like there was a strap that went across to the side of the pilot's seat or something, or to a bracket somewhere, and then that was actually the engineer's backrest. I've drilled some holes in here so that I can add some toggle switches in there. There's a piece which is supposed to be in here which is completely missing from the kit. It's a drift sight, so I'm going to have to scratch build that or something, because it's going to be very visible through the canopy. It sort of sits just there. And then there's also some stuff here, some equipment here, which is an emergency arming device for the upkeep bomb, and it's basically a cable that goes down the outside. And there's actually images of one of these with the scratch down the side where the cable was rubbing against the paintwork. Because you must remember guys, in these days the paint, particularly the early Lancasters, the paint they were painted with, you could basically rub it off with your hand apparently. So that's that side dealt with. The instrument panel, in the kit it basically looks like that from the front, so I've changed nothing, but from the side they just have a straight down vertical, you can see the plastic still in there. It's just like a vertical L section, but actually when you look at the real thing, it's slanted back, and this actually bulges out a lot more than the kit part does. So I've actually angled that back and with plastic card and made it up into a box section. I can't find any images of up here, so I'm just assuming that's something like what it was like, but you can't really see that anyway, because once you got that in the fuselage, you know, and then you've got the front turret here, you're not going to see up there anyway. So not really overly fussed about the back, but I wanted to get the shape right there. And as you can see, when it sits in here, that sits like that. It's not going to stay there. That sits like that, and then the actual pilot's floor goes on like so. So you can see there that the that's how it all fits together. And that, my friends, is that for now. Oh, these two holes here, these are where these vertical supports go. One for the table, one for the navigator's chair. They need to come forward as well, because basically what HK have done, and fair enough, anybody would have done the same. I'm not knocking HK at all. They've come from the rear of this area here that the seat sits on, and they've obviously got the correct distance between those two, and then they've had to squash everything up to fit it all in. And basically, if you look at when I put this in, okay, if you look at the back of that floor there is about as much in front of that where it used to be as that is in front of there. So in proportion to the seat, everything now remains the same, in relation to the seat, should I say. Next thing to work on now is this panel that goes on the side, and this literally just clips in the side here. This is where the engineer's panel goes. There's a hole in there. That's because I have cut the little hand wheels out for the engineer's panel and the airscale set, and you'll see that in a separate video coming very soon. This is also quite featureless and quite thick. It needs to be thinned down. The way it actually goes on the real thing, there's some trunking that follows the line, and then here is just a flange. So I think probably the easiest way to replicate that is to remake the front of it from thin plastic card, because all you'd see here is a little thin flange sticking up where they sort of clip together. So looking at it end on, what you'd basically see is the top of the trunking going along, and then this would be on there with a flange and a clip in there. So I'll show you that when I come to it. I may even show you it as part of the airscale upgrade. So so that is about that. But I really am interested, guys, if anybody knows what on earth is going on with this engineer's seat. You know, what they're giving you, I don't think that is correct at all. And I just, well, I don't get it. So anyway, any help there would be appreciated. Any advice, if you think I'm going wrong or I've said something wrong, feel free to tell me. If you want to offer any help and assistance, feel free to tell me. But don't just be a hater. It's pointless and it's a waste of everybody's life. So thanks for watching. Sorry there's not that much to really update you on, but I wanted to sort of make sure that everybody knows I'm still on it and still moving forward, and basically keep you all interested. And copy along, you know, feel free to copy what I'm doing. I'm not giving, I was asked on the large scale modeler forums, if you want to see any more of this in photographs, if you go over to largescalemodeler.com or .co.uk, whatever it is, you'll see there's one thread I've got going on there which is called HK Lancaster tips and tweaks, and that's up to like 11 pages now, I think. And then I've also got my own build thread on there in the works in progress bit. You'll see on there there's also one guy who is fantastic with period photographs, restoration photos and that. So you'll see that in the build thread, don't just get bored, go through every page and there'll be loads of photographs in there that other people, one guy in particular, has put in that you'll be able to use for your references. So if you remember, the last video I did was on the upgrades in the undercarriage bays and everything, and straight away he's on there. Yep, you can see the fuel tanks if you look through there. So I've now got to try and make some, I don't know what I'm going to do, I've got to make some replica fuel tank ends so that I can just put them in. They don't need to be too fussy, because obviously when you look up inside the wheel wells, you're looking at such a cute angle, you're not going to see the mounting brackets and stuff. So I just need to replicate that sort of shape. So I was thinking about using the end of bars of soap or something, but anyway, thanks for watching, and keep your eyes open for the Airscale instrument panel sort of how to build. Not how to or how I do it. I hate to say how to because it sounds like I'm telling people what to do. But basically I'll go through every bit and piece of that, and also making up the little switches and stuff and the levers and everything. It really is beautiful, and I've painted up the front faces and they look stunning. One thing I forgot to add, this is from, I can't show you the cover because I've got paper over it to stop it getting damaged. This is the beautiful Mark Postlethwaite Petoire, I can't think of his surname now, but it's their book. It's the Dambuster Lancaster. It's a fantastic book. It's about £30. This is the mechanism for spinning the bomb here. This is the hydraulic pump and everything, and you can see here it says that this area here, these pink knobs and that, they come up through the floor, and you can see here, this is the, looking at it now, this is the navigator wireless operator's table. There's the chair, there's the radio I was telling you about, and you can see here there's this control panels on the floor and a tachometer here. So basically what happened was, before they got to the target, the wireless operator would come down and open this cock and adjust the speed of the spinning bomb till it was doing 500 RPM, and you can read that there and see what it says. So I've got to add all that, and that goes between these two holes in the floor here, between the two pillars. So that's something I've got to make. But anyway, there's something I forgot to tell you all about. This book really is worth having. So there we have it, guys. That's everything. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.